Hey friends, with Valentine's Day right around the corner, I want to show you how you can make a super cool patchwork heart just using half square triangles and some simple blocks. Are you ready? Let's get stitching. Well, welcome back everybody. I'm Rob Appell, your host from Stitchin Heaven right here on YouTube, and I'm super excited to welcome all of you lovers here for a super fun Valentine's-based quilting tutorial. And yeah, I know we're in the new year. This is super exciting, and February is just around the corner, so I've got a really fun and easy patchwork project for all of you. And in case I forget to say it, because I've already stashed it behind me, we have a really cool pre-cut kit that is based off of this pattern here by Quilty Love called the Scrappy Heart. So that's where my inspiration really comes from. But I have changed the sizes we're using today, and I'm doing a little bit different instruction than what Emily has offered us in her pattern, because I really want to protect our authors over here. So at any rate, we've got the great pattern and the great kit. We'll show you more of that later, but let's dive into some of these constructions. And when I said I was doing things different, I wanted to show you that we can very easily make a really fun heart using scraps and patchwork, and they don't have to remain the same size. And in Emily's pattern here at Quilty Love, they are all of the same size, and the pattern offers a variety of sizes. This kit is 60 by 78, but it does a throw, it does a twin, it does a baby project and whatnot. And what I want to show you is how you can build your hearts of different sizes and different shapes, or maybe quantities is a better word, and then bring them back together. So let's just dive right into what you're looking at right here. It is a series of squares and half square triangles. And if you're brand new to quilting, let me show you how to make a half square triangle. They're very easy. And this is what that base unit half square triangle looks like. And these ones are already made and trimmed down to 2.5 inches so that they'll fit into our squares in a little bit, and those are also at 2.5 inches. But to get these two half square triangles, or maybe that's a little bit misleading, to get these two half square triangles where we're going to get two from the same piece of fabric, we need our print here, and this is a 3-inch square. And then, oh, I should point out, I'm also using both white and cream in my background because I really thought it'd be fun to go scrappy in the background as well as scrappy in the hearts. The kit has a really sweet little white and pink polka dot background, which I think brings it together nicely. So at any rate here, you're just going to go ahead and take, and what I recommend is marking a diagonal line with a chalk pencil or a friction pen across from edge to edge, a single line. And now that line is going to be actually our guiding line, okay? So now as we go on over to the sewing machine with our 3-inch squares, you're not marking the 2.5s, only the 3-inch squares. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually sew just on the kind of inside of this line, making a little bit of a scant 1/4 inch or a smaller seam allowance. Okay, and you can most certainly do these chain piecing style. I certainly did when I was making a bunch of them myself. Oops, I missed my thread cutter button there. And, but for this right now, I'm just showing you how to make one. We're gonna actually sew on both sides of that little drawn line today. Real easy. Okay. And whether you're chain piecing or doing them as individual squares, once you've got stitching on both sides, you're going to want to go ahead and trim this. And really, what I found, a couple tools to be really handy. One is this rotating mat here. I love the Martelli version because it's nice and firm. The other I'm using is the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmers. If you've seen me do other half square triangle videos, I really like this one, and I'm even going to use it a couple of ways I'm not supposed to. This is the trimmer A. You get 2 in a package. A does the half sizes. So first you can see I'm just using it as my straight edge to protect my hand as I cut on that drawn line, our seam line. So we've now divided it in half. And the cool thing about the slotted trimmer is all of our trimming happens before our ironing. So now I've just laid this dotted line labeled 2.5 right on top of the thread line. I almost said on top of the dotted line, but it's the thread line. It just looks dotted. And then now I've cut once, and now watch. I actually like to cut towards the corner of my rulers. So I've actually cut that off that way, and if you're afraid you slid a little, no problem. Okay, so now once that is, the slotted trimmer has these little slots. While those are there, you can come in here, and this is why I like the Martelli mat so much. I can rotate, and I can come in, and I can slice, and I can come in and I can slice, and that's going to give me a perfectly engineered set of half square triangles. But folks, I found that sometimes in my speed that I'm doing, I love the slotted trimmer for the double trim before the pressing. So again, dotted line on your thread, one quick trip up this way, make sure it didn't slip, a quick trip over this way to trim it down. And then after you do enough of them, folks, you really can just kind of dog ear your corners like that. As long as you're staying safe, it's okay with me. So at any rate, once your half square triangle units are created, let's do our best today to press everything into the print fabric or the darker fabrics. It's just a good idea when you're working with a white or a cream background. Or I guess maybe I should say any background that's much lighter than the print fabrics you're using. Okay, so you're going to make up just a stack. Remember, it's scrappy. So we're just going to have a nice big stack of our half square triangles made up, and those are now going to be perfectly at the 2.5 inches, right? So now we can start building our our hearts. Oh my goodness. Now, let's talk about the easy one first, okay? And then as I teach you how to make the bigger one, where it's just going to kind of be a game of proportions. So this one is actually a 16 patch or a 16 squares unit, 4 by 4 here. And you're going to start by utilizing, and I try not to ever have the same exact fabrics touching. So first we're going to make our peak here. That represents this spot. Okay, and then because I don't want the same fabrics touching, I'm going to use this one here, and now this little gingham here. Okay, so technically I have all 4 different ones. So your top row is basically 2 peaks coming together, and then you can see this is all squares. So as I bring in here my squares, but I am trying to kind of keep color values on one side versus the other. So maybe I want to come in and bring this little bit lighter one over here. Maybe I want to have that purple combo there like that. And you can see that basically the center is 4. So as I'm kind of just ripping through, finding different pieces of fabric here, I'm going to just kind of get a nice little grouping. I want a really nice bold center in this one, yes. Okay, but I also wanted to do that to show you here that now that we've made these, we want to start to angle our heart down towards the point, okay? So then you're going to need a couple more of your half square triangles. So you might want to bring this color combo to the other side now, but don't make it look like you really meant to accidentally, you know, or something like that. So you can bring those down here, and then maybe one more fun little tip at the bottom. You see how that shaped the heart already? That formed that all out beautifully. Then these pieces right here will be 2.5 inch cut background fabric. So I also made the background fabrics, not only the ones for the half square triangles, but the background ones in whites and cream. So you can see those are the 2 creams, so I'm going to add a white over here, and those are the 2 whites, so I'm going to add a cream over here, just to kind of keep that scrappy, patchy kind of thing going back and forth. Okay, so I hope you can see what I've done here. Once these are done like this, what I really did is I just went ahead and joined the units 2 by 2 as I went over to the sewing machine. So folding them over here, 1/4 inch seam allowance. Very easy. However, let's talk about what we can do if we want to make this a larger unit. And maybe before I say larger, let's talk about not going any smaller. I really feel that if you take out this row here, that's going to make a real kind of like sharp, squattier heart, and I'm not as fond of that look. So really, if you'll notice here, what we can do very simply, take our original design, okay, and we are going to literally add in a couple of new pieces. Maybe if I do this, it'll help. You can see we basically have a series of straight pieces coming through here, or the blocks. So if you split this over here and over here, keeping that centered. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to go ahead and bring in a square at the top between the points, and another square at the top here between the points, Okay, so you just went from 4 by 4 to a 6 by 6, keeping them squares as you build out. Okay, so we can just shift some of these colors over if we wanted. If we had 1 before and 0 there, now we've added 1, so we're going to add 1 into each row, or 1 more rows of straights. So I really love these heart fabrics. Let's keep those upright, and these bright ones coming in here. Try not to get too many solids next to each other. That just looks rookie. Kidding, I've got it in one of my blocks over there. Okay, so now this is another one of these straight rows, and we're gonna build 2 of them. See, we've got 2 of those straight rows there as we keep going down. So this row is all straight pieces, kind of putting those reds. See how I've grouped my reds up there? So even though I'm saying it's scrappy, there's a little bit of theory going into it, a little bit of design, mostly just trying to not have the same pieces touch twice. Okay, now that you're on 3 rows here, we're going to start our angles back down, and from the rest of this is going to angle all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so really there'll be another row of angles that will start in here. So you have a straight that fills in, straight that fills in there, like this. Think you can see where we're going? Okay, so everything across here will fill in with straight pieces. I'll just grab a couple of those real quick. Uh-oh. I always say real quick and then things jump all over, don't they? Of course, we aren't really in any race here. We're making quilts, which we love to do, so I don't think we need to be in a hurry. See what else I've got in this combo. I feel like I'm missing a few of my favorite fabric choices from earlier. That went, well, there they are. I like this one a lot. Okay. A little darker, a little muted there. Okay, so now as we come in here, working still down, oops, got myself carried away. Here's our point that we originally had, right? Okay, and that should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is that 6th row if I'd hold still. So then the rest of this is just going to fill in again with our 2.5 inch solid pieces. And I've got my 2 creams there, so I'll drop in a white, do a white out on the edge. Let me see if I can find a couple more of my cream pieces, and well, perfect. Let's go here and here like that. And so that's how you make the larger heart 6 by 6. Now, of course, if you wanted to make it even bigger, you could put another straight row in here and in here, so it would go out to 8 by 8, I believe, but I'm running out of time and space to even try that. But let's talk about what happens if you have different sized blocks, right? Because if this is a 4 by 4, and if this is a 6 by 6, at the moment it's going to be pretty challenging to get them into the same quilt. But what you can do, real simply, you ready? I'm going to erase it. Take your pictures. Okay, here we go. And that's the fun about the scrappy, right? Okay, so now watch this. And so if you're building this out of your stash, you can be working from your small heart that started, like I said, as a 4 by 4. Then you're going to want to make a couple of extra rows of just that background fabric. So now I can come in here with a row of 4 and a row of 4. I know, you know where I'm going, because now I just made it 6 by 4. The next rows I add in will be 6 by 6. And I actually love the way that frames in the heart by having some background fabric around it. But you can also see, because I've built this row and pressed this, now I could marry in both size hearts into the same project. Now that's not the trick that Emily used here in the super cool pre-cut. And I told you I'd show you what's in the pre-cut box. So, like I said, we have all of the fabrics, as well as this is the beautiful background fabric here. Hopefully you can see it with the plastic on it still, but it's that really cute little polka dot, right? So we've got all those wonderful fabrics that build into that, making it super fun and easy to follow scrappy. For these kinds of projects, I do recommend, however, so that you don't get painted into a corner, that you actually assign your scraps to your blocks to begin with so that you don't end up with, let's say, a whole stack of the same fabrics. That's what I'm trying to say. So even though I showed you how to build one heart at a time, I want you, whether you're working from the kit or working out of your stash, to build multiple hearts all at the same time on your design wall by making a bunch of the half square triangles, starting with those 3-inch squares or whatever size you're using, right? The math was 1/2 inch larger than the raw units for the squares inside. So these were 2.5, so I went up a 1/2 inch to the 3, trimmed them back down to the 2.5, okay? I've got a lot of other videos about half square triangle math and just simple mathematics in quilts that will hopefully help you through with that. The last thing I really want to point out is on the back of this project, I started really paying attention. On the small one, I was just kind of going pretty fast. But on the back of the bigger project, I realized, well, duh, it's all patchwork. So I can use actually all of these seams as they come together to help build my accuracy. So what I did do is I was pressing, after I built my rows, all of the seams in one direction, and then the next row, all of the seams in the other, then the next row, all of the seams in the first direction. So that way my seams could come back through, and at the end they could really nestle and they could all lay in opposite directions, allowing the block to sew together very nice and easy and accurately, even though I was using a whole variety of fabrics. So I hope that helps a little bit. Having an iron ready between phases, of course, is always a nice choice as well. But for me, I think the best feature is what I was just saying, which is make your time to design all of the hearts as you go so that you don't end up with too many fabrics. Or now that I'm looking at this one from a little bit of a distance and I can see it kind of in a monitor across the room, maybe it looks odd having those 2 red ones in the exact same spot. It looks a little bit less patchy. So look for those kinds of things. Take the time, even though it's scrappy, to kind of float through it. Maybe you want to use one of those wonderful reducing glasses that helps take down the value so you can really see that you've got a nice spread of light, medium, and dark pinks and reds and purples and things running throughout your heart as well. So anyways, I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. Like I said, we've got this wonderful Scrappy Hearts pre-cut kit. You can still get it today in time to build it and give it away for Valentine's Day. The kit finish is 60 by 78. And again, I certainly hope you enjoyed this video. Until I see you next time, please stay well. Oh, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really helps support our channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit the little button to be notified every time we go live or do a new video for all of you. And here's one from the past I think you'll really enjoy.